So Chris asked you if you'd ever done stand-up, or I guess maybe if you'd ever consider doing it. Might be the way he asked it.
You know, it's that kind of thing terrifies me.
Oh,
actually. Even before I did improv at all in any show,
So
I was
that's
super scared.
That's kind of right in the same lane-ish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's way less prepared, obviously, because it's improv. But
yeah, and improv within a show is different too because I'm playing a character.
Mhm.
I'm not just me. So it's so much easier to like just come up with stuff on the fly when it's filtered through. Oh, I'm this like French character, like, and I know him so well. I know what he'd say. That would be funny, and I find that a lot more easier, and I like it a lot. Like just straight up improv scares me.
yeah, I can understand why. That would be, I don't know, as of the last couple of years, like I've strongly considered stand-up comedy just because I like to think that I'm funny. I get a response when I'm trying to be funny,
I think that's the
guess,
first step.
ish.
You get that first high from the laughter.
Yeah,
But to me, it's
From your audience.
terrifying. I've never had real problems public speaking, but to me, it's terrifying to like put some effort into writing jokes or what have you, and then going up in front of people and just bombing. And I know that's part of the process, but like, man, I don't know if I can handle that. Like, I don't know if my character can take that. Just a big room full of people and just no laughs when I put my heart into this.
Oh yeah. Well, like I told you that other time that we were talking, a huge part that you learn is that like even at the tippity top, like comedians, they do bomb constantly. You just would never know because they move in a millisecond. Like they sense even before it's come out of their mouth, this isn't going to work, and then they've already moved on.
And the very best will try and bury themselves sometimes. Like I heard Bobby Lee talking about it, where there's times where he'll try to bury himself into bombing and just bomb, joke after joke, just to try and recover and bring himself out of it and win the crowd back over. That, but God, man, again, I don't know if like my character could take just no laughs. Like, who is this guy up here? What is he?
Yeah, literally.
What are these quote unquote jokes he's telling? You know?
And they're talking about bombing, showing stuff, or just practicing stuff at like the Hollywood Underground places.
Sure. Like the Comedy Store.
The Comedy Store.
Less underground, but like the improv there.
Yeah, they'll just go show up and do a 15-minute set working on shit.
Mm. The biggest thing is not letting people know that you're working on something. It's one of those like where the audience should know they're at a comedy show, but at the same time they shouldn't know. Like you should just feel like you're talking.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
To a really funny person.
It's a strange,
you like to be around.
Strange dynamic in a comedy show where all these people know what they're doing, but you have to try and convince them that you're not up here telling jokes. Like you just came out on stage, and you're just talking off the cuff.
Yeah,
and make it seem that way for up to an hour, I guess. You know, sometimes.
Yeah, I noticed some recycled jokes in the first part of Mark Norman's one, which makes you think like they probably want to control what clips get out there.
Oh yeah,
so that you can hang on to everything for that one special, at the end of the year, or at the end of the life of your set.
I know that Dave Chappelle, being like the icon, you know, the top of the top, he makes people turn in their phones beforehand because this whole whatever you think about Louis C.K. is whatever, but someone recorded him. Finally, he gets his life back and he can go start working on stuff. And he's got probably 15 minutes, whatever, 20 minutes. And people are recording it and put it online. And he makes a joke about the Parkland shooting, which technically, I mean, I laughed because I have some dark humor in me. But you got people recording it and then releasing it. He can't use that because it's getting shared. Oh my God, this guy who, you know, did some dirty stuff in the middle of a Me Too movement.
Now look what he
is out here making school shooter jokes.
Yeah.
You know, so he has to just scrap it, I assume.
Yeah, and make himself look like an asshole because he was trying stuff out, trying to make it better, seeing what's going to work and what's not, and obviously that takes.
And if you watch the video, it worked. Like it killed in the audience, but then, you know, the far left movement, you know, is just going to try and cancel him, and that's a weird time. I don't want to get into that, but the reason why I did bring up the stand-up thing is because looking back on it in high school and stuff is really the first time that I got to see you act and kind of put yourself into it, so to speak, rather than just playing lines on a script, whatever. And I would kind of chalk it up similar to like an Andy Samberg type of humor, and that's where you were the last time I seen you act, which was a long time ago.
Mhm.
So I want to know, because I haven't seen you, I want to know if you've progressed through that or if that's just a genuine humor that you have inside you. And it was just a coincidence that he went big at the time, stealing your jokes.
Yeah, we both kind of came up together.
Is that a reasonable comparison, though? I feel like that at the time.
I think at the time, yeah, for sure. At the time. And so I think that type of humor is the humor that like first like was the humor that emerged from me naturally.
Mhm.
Like just kind I at that time, like when I was in high school and I was doing comedic stuff and realizing that I could like do funny stuff, I didn't know what I was doing like from a technical or like scientific standpoint at all. I just was going off of like what I felt in like natural comedic instincts and things like that. Whereas, it's been 7 years since we graduated high school.
Damn.
And
10-year coming up on losers. Shout out
in
class
those
of
7
2013.
years, in those 7 years, like things have changed a lot, and I still revert back to that a lot. But I do kind of see it as that reverting. Like I try all the time not to just like sit back and let natural comedy take over, because I think it actually gets kind of not useful for a lot of reasons. Number one, that is not a type of humor that's applicable to every circumstance.
It's definitely a silly goose time.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's super great for some things, not all things, maybe 15%, 10% of things. There's so many other brands of comedy that I've had to like really technically think about. And because I think I naturally kind of fall into comedy, it's easy for me to like adopt other doctrines of comedy and fall into more of like especially Jim Carrey type stuff, which I use a lot for children's theater because he's so large and specific physically. That type of humor, into like the smaller stuff, more of like Steve Carell type humor, into anything that's applicable to any show that I'm taking on. I'll read a script and I'll be like, oh, I totally like I hear this as this, and it's this brand of humor, which is this type of tempo, and it all kind of just happens in my mind, and I can build up like the profile of what is funny about this. And so through the 7 years, these last 7 years, I've kind of like clicked in more like available options for myself so that I don't fall back. Because if I just let myself go, it will fall back to what I've always done, which isn't applicable to everything and is actually takes way too much effort. It tries too hard. It's like, it's tiring. I like literally hurt my voice, being
it's very captivating though. And the weird thing about it is that in this audience, in our demographic, it worked, which is not what you would think. Definitely not what you would think.
At a high school level though, everything was kind of cut and dry. Couldn't offend anyone, just everything had to like, I guess, adhere to a standard of some sort.
That's true, but another, one thing about a small town though which is great. I'm not like shitting on small towns, but like because we're in such a small population, like everyone that forces their kid to be in the talent show and stuff thinks that their kid is amazing.
Sure.
We don't have a lot of reference in this area. So
if you can hit a pitch, you're
if someone is singing, they must be good, and God bless that child for singing, even though they're terrible. So you can be not. So it's hard to tell when you're here even what's good and what's not, because people will be like, "Wow, that was amazing," and you never really know. And I remember thinking that when I was in high school here, I would do the musicals, and people would be like, "Were you the kid that played the Scarecrow?" Or like, were you in that 80s show? Or which whatever. And people were like, "Oh my gosh, like love this solo. You're so good, blah, blah, blah." And I'd always be like, "Wow, thank you." But I'd always be like, have this like sneaking thing in the back of my mind that's like, but am I? Like, what if I would have gone to Kelly Walsh? Would I have ever gotten a role? That's a very good point. Like, who knows?
So,
and go ahead.
When you got to your freshman year at ORU, did some of that carry over where like you were unsure about, your level of acting and intimidated to some degree?
Yes, a little bit, because I've never allowed myself to just like rest on that wave of like support I've gotten from like my parents and the community and stuff of being so affirming about my talents and things. I've never been like, oh, I must be good. Let me ride this wave, and I'm gonna go right into college and be like, I must be able to get all the roles and then go to grad school. I'm still amazed. Like, I knew like from the beginning, I was like, I got to kill that because I always have to not assume I'm the worst, but like always assume that I have tons more to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I went into college freshman year, suddenly in a city, suddenly with all these people. I remember thinking like, holy cow, my freshman year, I was like, dang, everybody can sing.
Mm-hmm.
It is not special to be able to sing. It is not, and like, I was like, dang, okay. So I'm going to have to like supplement with all of the other things that people might be missing, like work ethic and like personality outside of your work and like that kind of thing. How you live your life is what can like make you special versus talent, because there's just so many talented people.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of somewhat answers the question I was going to ask you, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So going into college out of high school, just getting positive reinforcement after positive reinforcement, like I can't imagine anybody said, Slater, that was, you think you could have done this instead of that kind of thing. Did you go in there just thinking like, how in the world did I talk myself into getting here? Because that, in my brain, that's what I would think. Like if I'm in your situation, just my personality, I would think, how in the world did I con my way into doing this? Like, how does anyone believe that I'm special at doing this? You know what I mean?
I guess
I want to know what like your thought was going there, because like you said, I mean, you get so much positive reinforcement, and then you get there and you're like, oh man, everybody can sing.
Mm-hmm.
So going there, did you think like, I am special. I'm gonna be one of the best people here. I'm gonna work my ass off, but I've got the talent. Or did you think like, oh man, I don't know how this is gonna go? Just backing him up against the ropes, folks.
Try a bit of both, I assume.
Yeah, I think you're right, Brennan. Because I'm not like stupid. Like I know that some people are born without a sense of pitch at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never been a person who is like full of himself at all, but I still have always just tried to be realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And so while I wasn't like, I'm the best coming in here, I still wasn't like, I'm the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I just came in being like, I can't rely on the affirmation of people around me, because especially at a Christian school, I was like, everyone is so painfully nice.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, right off the bat, I was like, I cannot trust anything anyone says.
Right.
Because everyone's
going
to tell you that you're amazing no matter what they feel, because I see them telling people that suck.
Yeah.
That they're amazing. So I was like, well, I can't trust what they're going to say. So at the end of the day, I just have to believe myself that what I'm doing is good work, and I can't let anything fall through the cracks. Like there's no way I'll be able to believe I did a good job if I didn't put the work into it. If I go out after a project or a scene or a show and I'm like, gosh, was that even good? Everyone said it was good, but was it? Well, did I put in the work? Yes.
Yeah.
I did. Whereas if I didn't, I'd doubt the whole time. I would have that ability to doubt later, knowing that I didn't put in all the work that I could have.
Right.
And that haunts me. So that keeps me from, that keeps me like working hard, very hard.
That's a good quality to have.
I think
especially
so.
in what you're doing.
I think you're totally right. Because, gosh, something that keeps me going all the time, hearing things like so many people are trying to be actors, like, or even in the arts at all. Just like it's totally flush with people wanting to do it that aren't, because there's too many than what our jobs needed. The demand is not as high as the supply. And
that's very, very good point.
And so, but something that encourages me is that I like start narrowing down the millions by like narrowing my search by being like, okay, here's these millions of people that want to be actors. How many of them actually have a fantastic work ethic?
10% or less.
Immediately you've cut it down, because so many people have gone to school for the arts thinking that it is the easy thing to do, because they think that, I'll just be a BA theater major and that'll be easier than biology.
The thing about it is the best ones make it look so easy. You know what I mean?
So they think easy, you're just up on stage, they have no idea that there's a reason why there's a major in college for it. It's because it's can't just become an engineer because they make it look so easy.
Yeah, liberal arts is not a joke.
Not at all. It's very hard if you want it to
It's
be.
the butt end of the joke, but it's not a real joke. Like, so that's very interesting to me, because like I said, in my head, I'm thinking, how in the world did I talk myself into this kind of thing?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that has to do with what you're talking about, not putting a real 110%, not a hypothetical 110%, a real 110% into something, which I think you probably did.
I did. And the thing about it too is I never have conversations with myself usually about talking myself into things because I don't think that's how my brain works with decision making. Like it kind of just does it. I'm not a person that like thinks over things, turns them over. I mean, I do in some other ways, but when it comes to decision making, I was just talking to my mom about this today, actually. When I was like in middle school, I felt myself being the kind of person who can't make decisions. Like I was like, dang, I really don't like deciding things. And I remember being young and being like, I can't be like that. I need to be decisive. And so from then on, I started to like train myself to decide things. And I never would have dreamed like as a kid that I do anything in the performing arts. Like if you guys remember what I was like when I was a kid, like it was like not in the cards. Like going to people's birthday parties was like a huge issue for me. I couldn't even do it.
Shy
like,
guy.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah. Brendan and Blaine were probably at Court Riddle's kindergarten birthday party where I like cried and made his parents call my parents to come get me because I just couldn't handle it. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'll cry over
I
spilt
couldn't
milk.
handle it. So then going into the theater when I was a freshman and I did my first musical and saw my first professional musical.
What was that?
It was
the
all,
first one you
all shook
performed
up.
in.
Oh, Wizard of Oz.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
when I was a
that's
scarecrow.
That's a pretty good starting point. Oh, that's
It
right.
was, and
That's
I wrote
right.
I wrote on my audition form that I will not accept a singing role. I
Savage.
put will not accept a singing
Oh
role.
my God.
And then they like for the callback, I like went into. They were like, "Hey, you and this other guy who I won't name." They're like, "Come into the choir room for your callback." Just me and him, and they're like, "Okay, all you got to do is match the pitch that I'm going to play on the piano." And immediately I was like, "Damn it! I know that I can match that pitch." No
you
one's
do
heard
it?
me sing in 10 years, but oh yeah, so I matched the pitches, and then the other guy did not at all. So I remember they just like
Slater
slapped
became the
that script.
scarecrow.
But from then, like after I did that musical, and after I saw All Shook Up at Theater West in Scottsbluff, that I later worked for, I was like, I believe this is what I want to do as a career. Like as a freshman, I was like, I think I'm deciding that now. And then I behaved in my like high school career as if that was my career choice.
So you knew pretty
Mhm.
early on into high
Yep.
school. Yeah, that's crazy because I was like 3 years into my college degree and still didn't know if it was exactly what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah, I was like 6 months ago old before I decided that we'd like to build a podcast. And that's what I think I want to do. So more power to you for deciding that at 14, 15, whatever age
I
you were.
love that. You just got to do it.
Yeah,
Like,
and
just do it.
right around the same time you started getting decisive.
Exactly.
I think that might say something there. But
That's a big deal as someone
True.
being that young. Like you can have that thought in your head all you want, but as far as like actually acting that out and actually taking it serious and committing to that is just that's a lot for someone who's 12 years old, 13 years old.
Yeah. And some people do it younger and some people do it older.
Mhm.
Like I think that I'm really lucky actually because I meet people like in college, who are undecided at their junior year, and I'm like, it just makes me be like, yeah, that's their journey and that's totally fine. But like, I feel really lucky that I just made a huge decision when I was a freshman in high school to do that. I was like, wow, thank God I decided that. I got that out of the way like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And some people, though, they were like 4 years old when their parents put them in theater.
I want to be
dance.
an athlete.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of is like trying to convince yourself because we all did at 12, 13 that love sports like I'm going to be a professional athlete. No, you're not,
right.
idiot. No, you're not. So that's what I'm saying. Like being 12, 13 years old and like actually deciding that and then enacting it out is a big deal. That's a strong
But
personality trait.
every kid wanted to go that route. You were probably like the only kid that said, I want to be an actor. Like
Here,
in your
I
guys'
was here, I
in
think.
Wheatland,
yeah.
right, in Wheatland.
Not many. They're just, I mean, it's just how it goes in the whole world, though. There's just more money in like the sports, in schools. And so they're just larger. More kids want to do that. Like drama was an extracurricular thing every once in a while with like a volunteer teacher. Like it was not something that had a budget like at all. It was just an extra thing, It's just how it goes. Like parents aren't beating down the door to get their kid into the drama club in the Midwest. Like they are
No.
to shove their kid onto the basketball court. Like they are.
Oh, absolutely.
Every dad like wants their kid to do this. Like it's very rare for a father
Because the
here to be
father-
like, I just want my kid to be a star. I want him to be an actor.
Because
Like,
the
it's
father has
rare.
a claim to fame from high school sports as well.
Exactly.
That's
It's like
all
an,
it
yeah,
is.
it's like a hereditary thing for sure.
With a small, very small minority of like moving on to college even. But nothing beyond that except for obviously the Bramlets.
Exactly.
So ORU, Oral Roberts, I guess that's not what I want to ask. What did you take away from that and move forward? Because then you're going to school where after
Rutgers,
that?
the state, which is like the State University of New Jersey.
So at Oral Roberts, what did you really consume there that kind of changed the direction you were going? Or I guess influenced your progression?
That's a good question that I've thought about a lot.
Because there's
actually.
levels to this. I mean, there's such a big gap between high school,
so much
college,
of course,
and then
so
of
much
course
has
professional.
happened in between. I honestly think that I can like distill down my experience at ORU to be that like I consider it to be very necessary. I don't like think of that place extremely fondly. I think of a lot of people there extremely fondly. Like I met some amazing like people there that are incredible. But my main takeaway from ORU that I am actually very thankful for ORU for giving me was it made me think about what I think. It like forced me to. There are classes that you have to take at that school. Like every single student has to take like study of the Old Testament, study of the New Testament.
Because it's a private Christian.
Yeah, it's a private Christian university, and very much so that like some are private Christian universities, but they're like loosely affiliated. Not this school. Very not that. So you have to take all kinds of stuff, but there's this one class that you have to, which I normally hated. Like I hated that they made me take a Bible class. I hated all of that.
So you already have resentment going into it.
Oh, so much.
You know it's gonna be miserable.
It's so just rules. One thing that is something that makes Slater is I hate pretty much any rules. Like I just hate following rules. I hate doing what people tell me to do. I just hate it. There's something in my bones that's like, I want to do the opposite. And so being at a school like ORU where it's like your hair must be shaved and your sideburns have to be here and you
Is it really?
have to you can't have like dyed hair. And when I was there was curfew. Every night you had to stay in the dorms that were also segregated, which I think is so stupid too. Just like segregated by gender, not race.
Wow. Okay.
What like just so many rules. I'm trying to think of them. Just that kind of thing.
That's a strange dynamic for a college experience.
Yeah, very different from like UW.
Well, it's, run amok and do some wild stuff. And then have no repercussions because it's Laradise. Go ahead.
Yeah. You made me lose my train of thought there. I remember like after your freshman year and you came back for like Christmas and we were hanging out and you were saying they like made you take a class where you were forced to like run a mile.
Oh yeah.
Every week or something.
Every single student has to take PE, HPE, and at the end of that is what's called the field test. So every single semester, every single student at Oral Roberts University takes the field test, which is a 2-mile run that you have to run. To get an A, you have to run it. I think for the guys, it's 13 and a half minutes.
Can I bring my inhaler?
2 miles.
Holy smokes.
If you cannot manage it, then you are moved into this other class, which I forgot what the class is called, but it's a very degrading name of the class. That's like basically for the people who are overweight and can't do the field test at all. Most people fail it, honestly. Most people try and like like I don't know what the word like
sandbag it
there. Yeah, sandbag their grade so that they can fail the field test and be fine. And
interesting.
Yeah, so that everyone has to. And but circling back to your original question. Is one of the classes that I begrudgingly had to sign up for because it was required was a class called Christian Worldview, which I was like, no. Don't teach me how to look at the world.
That's such a blanket of a
so blanket.
Class name?
The class sounds horrible, and I was really lucky because I was in the honors program, literally just based off of my grades in high school and my ACT. I was
Mhm.
like, boop, you're
I
in the
would
honors
say that she
program.
deserved to be in there. Yeah.
Thanks. So I just took the classes that were honors courses, which just means they were harder and they were with other honors students. So you didn't have to be with the dumb people, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
But the thing is I was as smart as the honor students, but I was not like them because they're just a certain kind of, like, if you've like hung out with like all pre-med students or something, like at a school, like they're all just a certain brand that I was like, dang, I can't get along with these people. I want to fight them. But Christian worldview, I happened to have a professor who was very different from all the other ones there. He was very unassuming about what you were coming in with. Like normally professors would be like, okay, let's pray, assuming you believe in God. Like where I even was like, yeah, I
Oh
believe
my
in God,
God.
but I'm mad that you automatically assume that I do. And like that kind of thing. So like this was a teacher who was like, you believe whatever you want to believe. And this is more of just like whoa, scratch the mic. It's more of just like a general philosophy class, which I had never taken anything like that before. We had to write papers that were literally titled like, I believe ...
Fill in the blank.
anything. It wasn't about Christianity at all. It was about whatever you want. And I was like, no one's ever made me decide what I think. They've told me what to think, but no one's ever been like, here is the whole world of philosophy. Here, you decide what you
And
believe
here's a
about
circle
it.
back to you having to make decisions.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, dang, this is, I already decided I have to make decisions. So
Yep.
I've got to decide what I believe. And that paper, I still have it saved from like my sophomore year at ORU when I was like, had to write that paper. And that was a turning point for me where I had to like decide what I believe. So that's one of the things that I credit ORU with is it made me realize the importance of deciding what you believe or else other people will decide for you and you will adopt what's around you way too easily because it is so easy to like plop into a community and immediately everyone craves acceptance. And so if you are good at just sponging in everything around you, it's so easy. Your life will be easy because you accept things easily around you. And I was like, that's not how I'm going to be. I'm going to decide what I believe and whether I fit in the place that I'm in or not is not my concern.
That's a good point. And I think in a situation like that where you do have to write something, it does say a lot about a person. Like whether you want to take that route to give someone what they want to hear, what you think they want to hear, what you think other people think is right versus what you actually believe.
Yes.
So I when you say that was a turning point, that kind of brought out that in my head, I guess, just thinking that there's a bunch of different ways to go about that, all of which are pleasing someone else and telling some other version of what people want to hear versus actually being genuine and writing what you want to believe. So I think that says a lot about a person.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, those philosophy courses will get you when the professor just expands your mind.
Yeah, yeah. And
if you do
I'm
the
really grateful
readings,
for him.
I didn't ever.
Yeah.
That was tough for me in college. Just because, like you were saying, someone tells you to do it. I was told I had to do these readings, and I was like, nope. I'm going to figure out how I can do it without doing the readings.
Yeah. That is my instinct as well. How can I scoot by?
And I do want to say something to educators. What you're talking about this one professor being like, the guy that actually goes about it the right way. There's a lot to be said about an educator that does that and that brings out the majority that is resistant by doing the right thing and being genuine and trying to make the most out of the situation versus just being an educator.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. And I refer back to high school just for this, for Brian Boaz specifically.
Yeah.
I happily did all of the work because he brought the best out of me and I was accepting, but that's the way he went about it.
Yeah.
So with educators, that's a big thing. And I guess that's why I asked that question on what kind of puts you on the path that you're on.
Yeah.
Because usually it's like an individual or two that really impacts you that carries you that way.
Yeah, for sure. And it has made me realize like how like appreciative I am of people that teach because it is truly incredible when you can look back on like high school and stuff or even before and be like, dang, that teacher was just amazing. Like look at what they brought out of me that I never would have dug out myself.
Exactly.
And that's incredible. Even in a small town like this, there are several that I'd be like, dang, like Mr. Boaz included. Like there's just so many that, and I think one of the keys is that they actually care a lot. Your heart actually has to be in what you're doing when you're teaching, because it is a truly special thing to be influencing people that are young, that are able to be influenced. You know, we're
Mhm.
biologically supposed to be influenced when we are young.
Mhm.
And that's a big responsibility and a big job. And when people do it with their hearts, you can feel that, and you feel it for the rest of your life. You always think back and are like, remember that one? Like,
Yeah, a good educator makes
amazing.
a big impact, and
Yeah.
definitely like I'm not even don't even consider myself to be like a real political person. I'll have conversations that are uneducated, as well as history and stuff. But that's someone who kind of brought that out of me, and I took a liking to it. Whereas in the past I was resistant. So the
Yeah.
educator thing is a big deal to me. You did 4 years there,
4 years at ORU. Yep.
and then you transferred to Rutgers for.
Transferred immediately to Rutgers, which is a 3.5-year program.
So you're
And
going from Oklahoma. Where at in Oklahoma?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Going from Tulsa, which is a little bit different than here, but still kind of rural.
Still Bible
Far
Belt.
East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What made you decide to go there?
Well, when I was a freshman at ORU, I heard about it because of like people had mentioned it and been like MFA, like people sometimes go to grad school, and I was like, what is that? Maybe I want to do that. Because at that time I was like, I love school.
Mhm.
I was like, I love school, and I look at people around me and I see that people don't love school but are doing it because you need an education or whatever they're doing it. But I was like, I actually like doing school. I'm an academic minded person. I like doing tests, like things like that. Like I just like it. So I was like, dang, if I like it, I might as well do it for
Keep
a
doing it.
while, you know,
Definitely.
and get a upper level degree. And so that's why I started looking into like an MFA. And then I heard whisperings of Rutgers because of the graduates from ORU that had gone to Rutgers. And by the time I was a freshman, both of the people that have gone to Rutgers from ORU for grad school had graduated Rutgers already and had great acting careers, one in the stage and one in film. And I was like, dang, maybe I should look into this school.
Mm.
Looked into it. One of the alums' younger sisters was in school with me for 1 year. She was a senior when I was a freshman. So I got in contact with both of those alums and
Nice.
messaged them about the program, about getting into the program, advice and stuff. Both of them were extremely gracious and sent back
Really?
amazing things. Yep, haven't talked to them since, but
Hey, at least
they're
they
great.
reached out.
Definitely.
one
yeah,
time.
honestly,
That's a
I
big deal.
wouldn't even be able to.
I had a
like,
similar
they're famous.
experience. That's a big deal.
Yeah, when they message back and are gracious, it really influences me because even in my small scale, like stuff that I've done in Utah, like thousands of people see those shows,
Mm-hmm.
and I get lots of messages on Instagram in the summer, especially tons of kiddos that are like, "Hey, I think I want to be an actor," and I'm like, "Gosh!" And I really take the time to
Mhm.
be like to really talk with them about whatever they might want to know, advice or questions or whatever. And that is because of the people that have been great to me. And I like want to pass that along. So I was like, wow, how valuable that was to me. I got to pass it on. But wait, you asked why I wanted to go to Rutgers?
I don't remember what I asked because I'm
think you
captivated
did.
by your speaking.
I kind of just ramble and ramble
You're good.
That's
until
okay.
my mouth is dry. But like as far as just the program, I Googled it and I like read all about it, and they've got all kinds of mission statements, YouTube videos of professors that are like, here's what our school's about. And 3 things, I think. Number 1, they had a specific acting technique that I was pretty into at the time that I got a taste of at
And
my
what's that?
school. It's called the Meisner technique.
Randy
There's a-
Meisner, shout out.
And there's a lot of like controversy around that, but I think it's mostly because it's not an acting technique that is meant to have a taste of. It is it's a comprehensive 2-year training is what it is meant to be. And
And
most
I'm going to
schools
need you
have
to
like
elaborate.
1. Okay, I can later because it's crazy.
Well, I'm going to back you up against the ropes till you do it now.
But let me continue because I've got 3 things.
Please
remember?
do. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry for
I
interrupting.
wish you would wish that I would. Do you wish that?
I do wish that. I'm sorry for interrupting. Yeah, please go ahead with
It's
your.
okay. Anyway,
your
number
technique.
1 was the technique.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2 was that they had that year in London. And I was like, okay, yeah, of course. I love Shakespeare. Ever since I took Bill Pentland's quarter credit class in his living room with his 4 beagles, I was like, yep,
That's interesting.
Shakespeare. So I was like, yep, Shakespeare. And then thirdly, literally the feeling of anxiety and terror that came with reading about this program's techniques made me want to go there. It made me super nervous. I
That's a good
already
thing.
was born a person that is very kind of antisocial, especially as a kid. Like, it's just in my blood that I'm very, like, not comfortable with, like, especially like emotional things at the time. I was just like, no, like, closed off, absolutely not. And I was like, here's a school that does not allow you to be. I was like, I literally will not have a choice.
That's funny.
But to like be ripped open basically at this school. And that really scared me. And I was like, I feel really scared. I feel like maybe that's why I should go there. And so that's why for those 4 years, I was like, that's what I'm going to be working towards. That's the answer to your question.
Thank you.
Originally.
This just blew my mind. So tell me about this technique.
Thank you for backing him up in the corner, dude. Good work.
Good teamwork, hosts. Yeah, okay. Oh, gosh, man. This reminds me of when I first went to the school and then I came home for like Christmas and my parents were like, so what are you learning? And I was like, oh, jeez.
I'm sorry.
How do I even begin? I'll just like be really simple.
Please.
If I can, because it's very complicated and hard to explain.
That's fine.
To people that are not in the room when
Nowhere
it is
near.
happening.
Yeah.
Because it is a technique that literally like you kind of aren't allowed to be, no one's allowed to really watch it because it's an extremely vulnerable deal. Basically, it has to do with techniques that strip away anything about you that has been socialized. So, like to be able to act, not like in real life, you're going to be like floating around as like a husk of a person. But it's while you're learning, you need to be able to strip away anything that could have been socialized based off where you grew up, what your parents taught you, what religion you grew up in.
Right.
That's
anything that can influence what you are as a person that makes me Slater, and strip it down to what makes me a human being. You know, down to your getting down to your basic instincts, because we go through life and some stimulus hits us, and then everything that is socialized about us takes that first impulse based off the stimulus, and then all is filtered on based off what you've become in your life. Like, you say like, fuck you on the street to me, and whatever my immediate human response is might be something very different from Slater being like, I don't even know how to handle. Like, you know,
right.
like,
Did that
whatever
you just say that to
I
me?
have become is what we work on for a whole year, kind of 2 years, taking that away. So you're able to take that away so that you can play a character that is just foundationally not you.
Right. As a general citizen, preferably deemed an idiot, I would think that would be like number one on the list. Like, strip down everything that I know and feel and impulse and whatever else, and just dive in without any preconceived notions or anything like that. So that, to me, I understand that because it seems like that would be number one. Yeah,
it is logical, but the thing that gets hairy with it is that it's kind of, it seems kind of unhealthy.
Yeah.
The way that they go about it, because the teachers can be very harsh, which is also what I wanted, because I came from fluffy ORU where everyone told me I was amazing.
Like the jazz instructor in Whiplash type?
That kind of thing, yeah, where it like
that's
almost
an
feels
incredible
abusive.
movie, by the way.
Love that movie. But where I literally have believed for a long time that if like psychiatrists or psychologists sat in on this class, they would be concerned. Because if you are unstable mentally or emotionally coming into this program, I think that it would be extremely unhealthy for you. Which is why I'm always grateful that I went there for grad school and didn't go there for undergrad, because I wouldn't have been prepared to go in undergrad just as a human, like person.
Fresh
like,
out.
Emotionally, I would not have had the like emotional maturity to be able to handle that. Whereas ORU was a great foundation to go there and be like, yeah, I know who I am. Now I can step into the room and rip everything away from an objective position, rather than the youngins that come in and are like, what am I, who am I even? And now I'm going to tear apart my soul. Like, I feel like it could be kind of scary for some people, and it is. But for me, I came into it like at the perfect moment. It was the perfect moment for me. But that's kind of what it is in a nutshell. And then in the second year, you take all that like rawness and like, you even get to a point where it influences your outside life, of course, where I'd like come home for Thanksgiving after that training or Christmas and be like not only would like things that people say like hit me deep, cut me deep, anything, like you have all this armor that you build your whole life that this school trains you to get rid of, because, you know, when you're doing a role that, you know, is extremely emotionally just all over the place, it's because things are hurting them a lot, and you can see that it's hurting them. Whereas in real life, you could say all you want to me, and I would just stare at you, and you would never know that it's like really cutting me deep.
Yep.
Whereas you get trained to, like, the first thing that comes out is all of that emotion from something hurting you. And so I came home for Thanksgiving, I remember, and being like, dang, and here I am in the middle of all these people who have the most ammo to hurt me, actually. And here I am, like, fresh out of this training, not ready to be, like, I'm not even, like, sewn up yet and ready to go out into the world. And it was really rough. It was, like, crazy. But then you go into second year where you, like, patch everything up and you do technical things like...
It's definitely a journey.
They just leave you.
Exactly. It's a full 2-year thing. And yeah, they leave you, you know, if you go home for those breaks, you're
Season
vulnerable.
1 is a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That's a good way to put it.
It was wild. Now I'm kind of patched. It still has residual effects where even still, like, I'm just trained to allow things to make me respond to them to the fullest, whether that's anger or it is sadness or it is something awesome and funny and happy. Like, I'm just trained to respond to things at their fullest, and I have to just kind of keep it at bay and realize that's not for real life, because that's no way to go about your life.
Okay.
But it is a great way to go about acting.
Do you think that that's a way that they separate, for lack of a better way to say it, I guess, the pretenders from the contenders?
Yeah.
You're trying to weed out, you know, the pretenders out of the whole thing. You like the way I put that?
Good way to put it.
Thank you. Appreciate
So
that.
is there a
write that down.
disconnect,
Brendan, make a
between
note.
between the, like, third, second, and first year students
Disconnect?
in the program?
Oh, absolutely.
As far as, like,
100%, which is
clicks
why
and
you
stuff
don't do
like that.
any shows with
Gotcha.
anyone besides the people in your grade, which is
Okay,
different from other schools. Like, the first year, everyone in first year is always doing a devised piece where they first get a little taste of character. Whereas in the first year, you never play a character, ever. All of your classwork is all about you as a human. You are not acting at all. Not at all. I remember our professor, we'd be like, so how does this apply to acting? He'd be like, acting? What the fuck is acting? What are you talking? What the fuck? Like, he
Oh
would
my
be
God.
freaking out, and we'd be like, sorry, I thought I was in acting school. But, like, you know, you
Right.
couldn't even mention it, or else you'd get a
Interesting.
slap.
So at ORU, you go from acting, you know,
The whole time.
divulging into it.
Yeah, characters.
And then you show up, you're like, what do you mean?
Wait a minute,
What do you mean
no,
this is all classwork?
And that's the difference between, like, my Bachelor of Arts at Oral Roberts versus my MFA, my Master's of Fine Arts, and the Bachelor's of Fine BFA. It's more, just way more like what's the word I'm looking for? Specific. And
Honed in.
Honed. I think that's why I was looking for
honed.
It's much
Strong.
more honed. It's much more general in other places where I'm, like, painting sets and stuff, you know, and I'm glad that I learned all that kind of stuff. But this place, acting. Not even musical theater. Acting.
Right.
It's all it's about. So it can be much more honed, specific.
And so you were talking about how it comes with 3 different things, you know, the style and whatever. It comes with a year or 6 months in London.
Yep.
That's a guaranteed if you stick it out through the whole thing.
Yep,
Or?
guaranteed. Your third year's in London. First year is the Meisner training, all that, like, mushy, schmushy, important stuff that's, you know, that everyone has PTSD from.
Right.
Second year's all about you're adding on what's called, I literally always forget. It's another word for obstacles. Impediment. They're called impediments.
Very good.
And anything can be an impediment, such as an accent. Anything that is a filter on top of raw experience that is coming out of you as a person can be impeded by an accent.
Right.
I have a cold. I am currently shooting up heroin.
Very
And it
nice.
all had to do with training yourself to really research. Like, a lot of people did an amazing job. I was kind of terrible at impediments, but people would do amazing jobs at, like, they'd come in and do a whole scene and they would shoot up heroin in front of you and literally, like, you know, when you watch, like, a crime show and someone does heroin, you believe that they're doing heroin.
Well,
Like,
right.
they're
It
doing a bang
captivates
up
you,
job.
yeah.
And that takes a lot of research, you know, to know what exactly is happening to the body, what's going on, meth, any type of drugs, alcohol, all the different levels of what alcohol
Yeah.
Not
does
to mention make
you.
it believable. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And I was like, I remember coming into class totally not prepared and being like, okay, it's okay because I'll just do alcohol like I've been drunk plenty of times. Like, this will be easy. I definitely know what it's like to be drunk.
I was going to ask
And
you.
I did it, and it was horrible because you have to prepare. I did it, and I was like writing this
Interesting.
letter. I was doing like making a video voicemail for, like, my mom just to make it, like, emotional. And so I was like really drunk drinking pretend alcohol and being like, Mom. and after I did the whole thing, and I was like, that wasn't too bad. Like, I felt pretty drunk. And the teacher was like, she would always wheel her chair around to the rest of the class and be like, what are we getting from this? Because, like, you wouldn't say what your impediment was. People would guess. And it was supposed to be obvious.
Oh, that'll crush
She
you.
would
if you
turn around
did
and be
a
like,
shit
what are we
job.
getting from this? And people would be, like, afraid to answer. Someone would, like, mumble something. And she'd be like, mental illness? Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was getting was mental illness. And I was like, no, I was supposed to be drunk.
Oh, my God.
So I just found out that a lot more goes into it than just
Oh, that's
pretending.
funny.
Sure.
Even though I know what it's like to be drunk,
Sure.
so much goes into like the technical aspects of being drunk than I thought. That's all the second year. Accents, character is an impediment because it's an obstacle to your, you know, if I'm like crying because my mom died or something and but I have a British accent and also I'm like I don't know another impediment like I'm 52, mentally ill, whatever. All these things that have to do with character, you know, or I'm a character that's very,
a lot.
very like neurotic and fast and different from me who is like a little slower or whatever. All of those things are impediments because like trying to think of those things on top of I'm also crying.
So, which impediment in your career has been the hardest to tackle?
That's a good question. Because one time I came in with my impediment was really chapped lips.
Oh, man.
I did some dumb ones or sunburn. That's a really good one. But drunk is hard. Drunk is hard just because it's so easy to have it be fake. Like you know when someone's pretending to be drunk. You just know.
Have you ever met Cam Boughton? Shout out.
Why are we name dropping him?
Wait, I was
he
actually
deserves
literally
it.
thinking of someone else, but I won't say his
Okay, because that's who I was.
I think you know what I'm talking about.
That
though.
guy that you know that gets drunker than everyone else?
Do you remember the guy that was banned from your parents' house for a little while?
Oh,
Your
me?
dad, Chuck, was like, no,
Forever?
not you.
Oh.
No, another one. Another one. I'm trying to. And he was also one that somebody gave like a cigarette to and told
His
them
middle
that
name's
it had,
Dwayne,
that
yeah.
had weed in it. And he was like, I'm so high. And
We'll have
people were like, that was just a cigarette.
Oh,
Dial
yes,
that back.
yes.
Anyway.
I remember it.
You know when someone's pretending.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
But accents are hard. I mean, it's just any impediment is hard because you get all trained to be like, yeah, I'll like cry in a flash, whatever you want me to do. Like, you put me into this circumstance. I don't know what it's like to like lose a close family member, but by God, I'm gonna be crying all over the place.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I'm like French.
That's a lot.
And
Yeah,
you're
that's a
thinking of
lot.
like, oh, I have this French accent, and I'm crying because my mom died, or like whatever. And you're like, it's just hard to like separate, like, because your brain is like, this is this really not real thing, which is this accent with this thing I really feel of I'm crying, and like, I don't know, it's just tough. And then the third year you go to London, and everything is pushed to the side because you go there, completely different professors, completely different.
What are your
everyone.
expectations? Because you get some scuttlebutt beforehand.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean by scuttlebutt. And yeah.
It's a good word.
Yeah.
So what are your expectations going there? Because, I mean, that's a big
It's a
deal.
good question because
That's a long
every
time to be out of the
company,
country.
we're called companies, like the 15 of us actors that are BFAs and MFAs together are called a company.
Squad.
It's like a grade. And so the companies above me all come back, of course, with very varying reports of what their London year was like. Some people are like, that was the worst year of my life. I was depressed and had to go to therapy. Like, or that was the best year of my life. I learned so much. So we all kind of learn to come in you can't come in with any expectations because stuff is so split. And coming in with expectations is always what ruins it for people. They come in really scared because it's going to be horrible, or they come in really jazzed because it's going to be perfect. So I just came in being like, you know what? I'm just going to come in and do my job and hopefully learn something. That's what I expect.
Nice.
So were you playing characters mostly spoken in a British accent?
No.
Because you're doing Shakespeare,
I have
right?
before. In the summers, I've done lots of British characters. So we're doing Shakespeare, yeah, which is not done in British accents. Like,
Not typically, no.
William Shakespeare happens to be British. But no, not at all. It's set in all kinds of different places. I've heard it done in England by English actors doing American accents. I've heard them doing whatever accents because technically the way people spoke in Shakespeare's time was technically closer to American accents than it is to the current English accents. Yeah, because they are non-rhotic, so they don't say their R's normally. Some of the more rural accents do, but we have our R's.
Yeah.
American.
From my understanding, that happened even after like it was like around the same time frame as the Revolutionary War. We were fighting with them. Like they made like a cultural shift, and that's why in America it's different.
Our accents are different.
It's
Yep.
the way they used to talk.
And some are
basically.
closer to them, like Southern accents are closer to British accents than like we are in Wyoming. But yeah, their accent back in Shakespeare's time has been written down and described during that time, and they were rhotic. They had hard R's, which is totally not how British people speak now.
No,
And
not at
so-
all.
Not how all Southern people speak either.
Which is why they say, like, no, Americans should have no insecurity over speaking Shakespeare text in their accents because it technically is closer. Nobody speaks that way. You can even learn, we did a couple of classes on what's called original pronunciation, which is how they would have spoke during Shakespeare's time. Super weird. They say things so weird, and they say every letter like exactly how it should be said. It's just like
Like a child learning how to read.
exactly
That's
what it's like.
crazy.
It's super weird. Like anything that ends in a Y, like anything ly is like literally, or anything ly is all the Y is I, like literal I.
Literal.
Like things like that. So it's super different from anywhere else. So any accent goes. We had to, of course, we did a lot of work on English accents in New Jersey with a different speech teacher and dialect teacher. And then we came to England and had a very good dialect teacher who was just fantastic at dialects. And so she taught us a couple of different English accents, including what's called MLE, which is super cool. And do you guys know the rapper Stormzy?
Yeah, yeah.
That
Ed Sheeran
English.
works with him,
Yep,
actually.
He has
Yeah.
a song with Ed Sheeran. He's I don't listen to a lot of rap.
I'm
but
so
He's
educated
super
now.
cool because he's got a really cool voice.
Yeah, he does.
I had
He
no idea
does.
who he was before I came there, but they
Mhm.
used him as an example because he has a straight up MLE accent, which is kind
It's
of
heavy,
like
too.
it's like the black accent of England. Super cool sounding.
It really
Sounds
is.
really cool if you listen to how Stormzy talks and even how he raps. We learned that accent plus like a more like posh Queen of England accent, plus more like everyday English accents, like on everyday
Like
on
a
the
working
street.
class.
Yeah,
Exactly.
their accents are just as varied as ours are.
Yep.
I mean, it's just regional. They just happen to be like closer
Oh
together.
yeah, you cross the river and people speak differently. You take the train for 20 minutes and everyone's talking differently in that area, and the people there know people's accents so well. They hear you and they know that you're from 8 blocks down because of the way that you're speaking.
Interesting, because
That's
here
so wild.
we have this narrow tunnel vision. We don't know how to say like double consonants, like little. We say
Yeah.
little instead of little.
Yep.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
We don't notice
Little.
that. But that's crazy
We
that they can notice
We
small stuff
study
like
that.
that. Because I feel like we're
Yeah.
pretty close to a baseline, but I'm probably wrong.
No, in Wyoming we actually are kind of
Are
close
we?
to what is known as I think it's called General American is what
Slick.
it's known as. But like if you go to the south, like to Arkansas, and they'll hear someone from Alabama,
Yeah.
and they'll know that
Yeah.
those people are from Alabama.
Absolutely.
Whereas we go there and we're like Southern accents.
We're
Like,
from anywhere south.
we
Yeah.
don't really know. But yeah, we're trained really specifically, which I eat this stuff up. Very technical things like the difference between little and little, which all just depends on where you're voicing consonants, where you're releasing the air in your mouth, like all that kind of stuff fascinates me. I think it's so cool. Why did we become the culture that says little instead of little, like
We're
Will
lazy,
Dawson? And why did Will Dawson say little always?
He
Do you remember
did
how he'd
too.
always
That's
say all the
That's
letters?
a very good point.
I always, as a kid, I'd be like, why does he say every single letter?
And I will say that I've never heard anyone apologize more in my entire life than Will Dawson. Follow everything controversial he ever set it up with. I'm sorry. Sorry.
So true. So true.
So yeah, you go over to London and you're balling out.
Yeah.
Balling out.
Balls out.
And so you're doing, is it strictly Shakespeare?
It is strictly Shakespeare / classical text, but mostly Shakespeare, yeah. So we worked on sonnets and reading different plays, worked on all kinds of scenes, like more modern ways of just approaching Shakespeare and exercising and acting Shakespeare. Plus, it culminates in a performance. At the end, we do a performance on the Globe stage, which was unreal. Absolutely incredible.
What's that for us narrow-minded people?
Oh, yeah. For those that don't know, Blaine and Critter know, but for those that...
I think I know. Let me take a shot. Let me take a stab at this one. Wasn't that Shakespeare's theater where his plays were performed while he was alive and writing plays.
That is correct. However,
It's been moved.
the original one was burned down. Unfortunately, towards the end of Shakespeare's life,
I remember learning that in Mr. Pentland's class.
It burnt down, so they rebuilt it in the 80s. And the founding artistic director's name is Mark Rylance, who is an actor that does some stuff in Hollywood. He was just in Bridge of Spies. Shout out to Mark Rylance.
Boy.
He's a cool dude. He's a good actor. He just won an Oscar. He's super
really
cool. Yeah, he did for Bridge of Spies.
Look at you.
But anyway. Hold on. So it was rebuilt. So Shakespeare did have...
We're good. Can we take a
pee break? If you tell me that shut off, I'm gonna.
I was just
checking it. Boy, Dad.
We tried to take a pee break last time, though.
I really. Banter.
Okay. Quick history lesson. After that quick message from our sponsors, thank you to
Wrangler.
I left a silence. I was leaving a silence for it to be inputted later. Yeah. Wrangler's jeans. After that quick message from our sponsors, Wranglers.
They're extra tough, super durable.
Extra tough, extra tight.
Ask my dad; he'll tell you.
So Shakespeare.
Okay. Anyway, Shakespeare. So Shakespeare had an outdoor theater called the Globe, and that is where a lot of his stuff was performed. But also, a lot of his stuff was performed in the courts of the royalty of the time, which he went through a couple different
regimes.
Yeah, different. Oh God, monarchs.
Yeah.
So
do you happen to know
Henry,
which monarch?
One of them was Henry. The crazy one. The eighth. Henry the Eighth.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Well, shout out to Tudors on Netflix. That's a good show, The Tudors. Anyway.
I think he's part of the reason why the Protestant split happened, because he wanted to get a divorce and the church wouldn't let him. So
Critter, you know so much stuff.
I just know.
Yes, his first of the six wives was Catherine of Aragon, and she, he wanted to divorce her because she didn't give a son, and so he's like, I gotta find a way to divorce her. Asked the Pope. The Pope said, no, you don't have a good enough reason. So he's like, okay, well then I'm not Catholic anymore. I'm Protestant, and I am the head of a church, and I say that I can divorce her. Divorced her. She lived comfortably for the rest of her life. But some of them he did.
Did he have to execute?
I was gonna say, why didn't she just happen to fall out of a very tall tower?
Game of Thrones. Anne Boleyn was beheaded the next one. She was cool gal.
It'd be crazy to perform as an actor, like in front of the king at a time where he could just say, "Hey, I didn't like that. Take his
off
head.
Of his head." Yeah, literally. And some of literally a lot of what's called Shakespeare's histories, not tragedy, not romance, not comedy, history plays like Henry the Fourth, Henry the Fifth, Henry the Sixth. There's a lot of history plays, Richard the First, Richard the Second. And they're about kings, like real kings, Richard the Third, like real people that lived, which is super sketchy to be doing shows about the monarchy.
It's risky business
for the monarchy, but they loved him, so he would go into their courts, take his little troupe, his little dirty troupe, and they'd literally be like a dirty skank slut act, because that's what actors were thought of. They were like dirty, skanky, slutty, nasty. But the king was like, haha, they're funny. So they would bring them in and they would do stuff in the courts. The next queen, I think Mary, who I think is Henry VIII's daughter, she loved it. And they loved it. So did it in the courts. But also, little known fact, Shakespeare also had an indoor theater. Because when the weather's bad, obviously you can't do stuff in the bad weather.
And apparently the weather's bad in London a lot.
It is apparently bad. Summers are pretty nice. But in the winters, it's disgusting. You're getting literally rained on in the yard.
So did you show up at the beginning of towards the end of the summer, like at the beginning of what
end
would
of
be
the
a
summer.
semester?
So when it was still nice for a few weeks, it was really nice. And then it got horrible for the rest of the time. And it was freezing. I remember performing and my mom being standing out there because the Globe has standing room. All the people stand, which would have been a penny or 2 pennies back in Shakespeare's day. And now it's £5 to buy a ticket for those standing room, which is sweet. I love doing standing room. And then there's the 3 tiers of seated, which are covered. But all the people in the yard are not covered. And I remember seeing my mom out there, just totally bundled up in a big puffy coat, because it was pretty cold in February. The only reason we were allowed to perform on the stage was because it's not within their season when they perform outdoors. because Shakespeare had an indoor theater called Blackfriars Theater, which is now called the Sam Wanamaker Theater at the Globe. It's attached to the Globe because the Globe was founded by Sam Wanamaker, who is an American actor. An American popped over there across the ocean and founded the Globe.
Wow.
For it to be built in the exact way that it was built back then, like they even like down to like the wood, like it is built exactly how.
So there must have been like
Shakespeare's
some layouts that survived, or like just like detailed
Exactly.
descriptions, drawings,
pictures, not even like blueprints. They just base it off like pictures and different scraps of writing that they can find about the Globe. They modeled it also after this building called the Queen's Hunting Lodge, which we visited. It's right next to Sherwood Forest, and it's this lodge that the Queen would always go to like hunt in and stuff. And like they modeled like the big wide steps and stuff off of that. But anyway, so there's an indoor theater which is only candlelit at the Globe, which is super cool. I saw several shows there. It's only candles, like big chandeliers. They get lowered up and down and like doused and then relit all the time for like different vibes.
Is what that
super
is.
hot and sweaty in there. Three seating stories, so you're like looking down if you're up there, and it's really tiny. It's like, it's really, really cool place.
You talk about the history of this, and it triggers my brain to think about hearing Bill Burr kind of make this connection, because he did his latest special overseas. But the prestige of standing in these spots that other people have stood, and the history behind this, listening to you describe it, is there some kind of just overwhelming emotion that comes through you? Because I've got a little bit of a helpless romantic trait in the fact that would be kind of overwhelming for me, like the prestigious people that have stood here and done, ran this race. And
100%. And like we have talked about before at another time, that like when you stand in places that are older than anywhere we have stood in America, like that is man-made basically, it does have a certain feeling to it, for sure, just by the age. But then when I get into a place that like I'm passionate about also and has the age,
right?
Yes, 100%. You feel it. You literally feel it. Like when I very, very first walked out onto that like iconic Globe stage, when we first got to London, they're like, "You guys want to come out on the stage? Let's like walk out there, get a tour." We walked out from the inside of the stage too, not from the audience perspective. We walked out as like actors basically through these big double doors, walked out onto this wooden stage. It is like overwhelming. Literally, some of the more dramatic members of my company were literally crying.
Wow. Oh, I believe
and
it,
I was like, oh, just like you can feel the weight and like the importance and like the life in the wood, like just you really can feel it. And that informs your work there too. Like
right. I can only imagine that it brings forth this thought in your head, like, I have got to just make this world class.
Yes.
I have got to bust my ass for this.
Yep. And doing Shakespeare on the stage too, I'm like, this is what this place was built for. I'm doing Shakespeare. I'm literally playing a role that I believe was Shakespeare's baby. Like at the end, we did a play that was like his second to last play he ever wrote in his life, The Winter's Tale, and the character that I played was like his like baby. Like he wrote it. You can tell he wrote it. Just he poured everything he had into that role, and I was like, wow, here I am playing this role that was Shakespeare's child on his stage in this old theater. Like, man, it really gives you like it feels like a weight to it that is pretty sobering. You can't be like jittery about it. It doesn't have that kind of like Globe stage, which I would probably feel like in like a Broadway theater or something. Like, ooh, Broadway. But whereas like at the Globe, I like felt like a weight. I was
There's like a
dang,
solemn
An obligation,
reverence.
probably,
a reverence. That's exactly right. And yeah, I felt a duty and like an honor and a reverence in playing that role on that stage. It was just like unreal. And I never lost that. In the 6 months, I never lost that like sense of this place is like holy in a way, like it's sacred. And then I was like, you know what? Like this amazing feeling that I have at this space, I need to transfer to like any space that I work in, because it really informs your like soul when you're performing. And even if it's some like janky little theater that is not old at all, has no like cool history or anything, like even at Pickleville that I perform at in the summers, like it's a log cabin that has a lot of great history in it since the 70s. But like if I can find a way to like find the way that makes that place special, that I can feel like it is important, the building, it will inform and make your work like more important in any place that you go to.
Had you thought about that before you experienced the Globe?
No, it was the Globe that taught me that for sure. Because it was the only place that I just walked on and immediately felt that. And then over the 6 months, I remember telling this to my company. I remember being like, this is the place that has taught me, like, because this space makes me feel a certain way and informs my work in such a good way. I was like, there's no reason why that cannot be transferred to literally any space I perform, whether it be a tiny room like this or a classroom or Pickleville or whatever theater I'm performing in. That space has its own vibe. And if you can like tap into that, then that's really valuable. And it is, it's the Globe that taught me that.
Did your friends in the company like have the same perspective on that, or was that
Probably,
varying?
yeah.
Did you guys ever talk about that?
Yeah, we did. For sure. We talked about it together, and I kind of gave this same like little rant, this little speech at the end. I was like, dang, you guys, like, this is what I feel.
That's probably a good reassurance too, that like, this is what I'm going to do. This is, this hits me in a way that I cannot see myself or live with myself doing anything else. 100%. So that's probably powerful as well.
100%. Oh yeah. When I was in undergrad, there was a time, my sophomore year at ORU, when my parents were like, have you ever thought about maybe having a contingency plan?
Right.
Having a second choice, a backup plan, type of things. And I was like, you know what? There are a lot of things that I'm interested in and a lot of things that I want to do. I was super interested in psychology, number one, and also pre-med. I was really torn between like, I want to be in musical theater and pre-med. I was just like, it's fascinating. I love quite biology. The commitment. Super different, but like, it's kind of how my mind works. Like have a very academic mind, and I love, like, I'm also passionate and love anatomy and medicine and things like that. I love it. Me and my sister both always loved it, and then she ended up doing it. But so I was like, you know what? I love this, so let me try it. So I transferred over with my sister while she was there my sophomore year for a semester and did a semester of pre-med.
At ORU?
When I was at ORU on my sophomore year, first semester. And it was really cool. Like, I loved the classes. I was like, yes, this is so refreshing. Like, I have a textbook. Here I am with a textbook, and I'm like learning just from it. Like, I just love that kind of stuff. But what I realized is that people in like science degrees and stuff, and probably other degrees, more academic degrees, they spend their time studying at night. They have to study. If you're going to keep up, you must study. And that takes time.
Right.
And at the same time, I was doing all of the shows while still doing theater major stuff. And I was like, all of the time that I am in rehearsals every single night for 4 hours or more and learning lines outside of that, all of that time is when everyone in other degrees is studying.
Right.
So I was like, literally, they cannot exist at the same time, which was unfortunate because I was like, maybe I can do both.
I can't imagine somebody that could juggle that.
No
that
way.
Is...
It's crazy. And I was like, I can do it because Doc Hawley did it. Which he kind of didn't. He did undergrad theater and then went to medical school. He's a doctor with a theater degree. And I was like, dang, this guy's awesome. I love Dr. Hawley. I did a show with him once too. Back in high school. Platte County Players. Shout out. Melodrama in the summer. But he's super cool and really funny. And he's a doctor. And I was like, I want to be him. And an author too. Shout out.
Wow.
You can find his books, Hoofprints in the Snow, at
The Wandering Hermit.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Wandering Hermit. Fiction.
Gotcha.
And anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so yeah, I realized that I could not do both simultaneously because just time-wise, there's not enough time in the day to rehearse and also study for my Bio 1 class because I was taking the biology classes with the pre-med majors literally just because of my prerequisites from high school, and my ACT and my GPA all put me into, I didn't have to take anything prerequisite.
What did you get, by the way, at your ACT?
I got a 30.
Banger.
Which, getting to ORU, literally, I will never forget this memory of when I got to ORU and I was on an honors floor, which meant everyone on that floor was in the honors program.
Pretty stingy floor.
And we would take like trips and stuff, and I was like, I'm not like these people. And we would like take trips to like museums and stuff. When we first got there, everyone's getting to know each other, and I just remember people running around asking people what their ACT scores were. And I was like, why don't we all just write it on our name tags?
Yeah.
For God's sake.
There you go.
I was like pissed because I was like, here I am with my 30 that I was like, this 30 got me a bunch of scholarships and stuff. And then everyone else is like, oh, a 30, 33, 32.
Yeah.
All of them, and I'm like, oh, I guess my 30 is like a shit score or whatever.
Yikes,
Which,
man.
I guess, I don't know. 30 is not bad.
So
but-
I take
I
it
would
you
say
didn't.
22, man.
Yeah,
great.
Attaboy.
I take it you didn't run with that crowd very long.
No, I value them because I respect them in
Mhm.
certain ways, but
They probably fuel the fire a little bit
Personality-wise.
for you too, I would assume.
God, yeah.
Just
yeah,
wanted to,
for
just
sure.
wanted to beat him.
It fueled my fire for competitiveness, and it also fueled my fire for probably bullying. No, not bullying, but like
Hazing.
they definitely. Yeah, I loved I love messing with the honor students because sometimes they're just the kind of people that
That's great.
are so like academic minded. Their senses of humor are very different.
Yeah,
and
Right.
I love that. I love being the guy on their floor that they're like, wait, what? He's as smart as us, but he's psycho. I loved being that on their floor for a couple of years that I lived with them.
So, switching from that dynamic to you're in a company, you said 15
company,
people.
15, 8 undergraduate, 7 graduate.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, was there a divide between the undergraduates and grad students? And also, was it like cliquey to some extent?
No, honestly, ours isn't super cliquey. Every company is very different. Every company has a different amount of people total, and every company has a different ratio between graduate and undergraduate.
Okay.
Some will have like 25 people, and 5 of them are graduate, or just different combos, which really make for different experiences.
Weird power dynamics then.
Definitely.
Very much so. So the way the program is set up is very not divided. So we're very together in a lot of stuff. But just like based off our ages, things can be divided.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the thing is like the age range in my company is 13 years
Wow.
from top to bottom. So there are people that are now 30, I think 33 is the
Wow.
oldest.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest of the MFAs. Down
Mhm.
to I think now our BFA's youngest are like 21,
Mhm.
maybe 20. Maybe there's one left that's like 20, but they're mostly all 21. Most of them turn 21 in London. I'm 25, and then 33 is
Mhm.
like the oldest MFA.
Gotcha.
So I'm closer to the age of the BFAs than the MFAs. So it's just kind of a range. It's not like boom, boom, for the most part. In some ways, because we've gone to school already,
mhm.
we have something different about us. And so
Right.
we will do things together that are just us,
Mhm.
of course. But I'm also very close friends with the little kiddos. The thing about a divided class like that, which is also how Juilliard does it, is a combined BFA, MFA in their acting program, is there's a lot of valuable things about it because of the nature of our program, which is just like exercising your humanity. It is really nice for the older people to be exposed to the really vibrant, young freshness of
mhm.
the kiddos.
Yeah.
Very, very valuable. Even to me, who was the youngest of the
Mhm.
MFAs, but there's some jaded old MFAs that are like very not an 18-year-old.
Very
They have
millennial.
seen some shit in their lives. Those
Yeah,
older
yeah.
ones, they've literally gone through.
They ran this race.
just-
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they've gone through life.
Yeah.
They've already lived in LA
Mhm.
trying to be an actor for 8 years. Like they've just gone through it, and then you've got the BFAs that are like, I'm straight out of my parents' house
Yeah.
to here.
Mhm.
Super valuable for us. And then of course,
Yeah.
vice versa. For them, it's very valuable to
Interesting.
have our experience influencing them. And
And they're honestly a different generation. Like we're caught right in
Definitely.
the split. So like there's
We
some things
are.
I identify
Yeah.
with being a millennial, and then others I would probably say I'm closer to what are they, Gen Z?
yeah,
We
Below
are a
us?
strange bridge between those two. We
Yeah,
have
for
a
sure.
strange generation.
for sure.
You're born in 94, right?
Yeah.
And then 95. I think
I'm
it's
a
pretty
youngin'.
close to that cutoff.
You guys are both 95?
Mhm.
February. Shout out.
Yeah, if it's true. We're kind of in the middle because I also am not up there with those older
Mhm.
ones. And then I'm also kind of, well, the BFAs are kind of also part of my generation, but any younger than them, like current high schoolers,
Yeah, I have no.
so
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see the day, but like
It's crazy,
they're
isn't
very different vibe.
Mhm.
They're a
Mhm.
different generation. Than
Absolutely.
me. I don't understand it. I
it?
don't
It's
care
crazy how
to.
that works. I mean, in the moment, you're like, "There's no way, like, I can relate to all these people. I'm not going to be that old guy, that old head, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it." But it is strange how, like, you look back at the current people who are in high school are just like, what in the world is how do you do, I don't get any of this.
No.
I'm
Don't
not
get
like this. But then you look to the above generation, like you're saying,
They
32,
were doing the
33.
same thing to us, though.
And you're also like, you're just a little too stiff. I don't know. I mean, I identify with some of it. It's a strange how we're a bridge
Very true.
between the two generations. We went to kindergarten and there's that Wyoming accent. Kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
And we went to a computer class in kindergarten.
Yeah.
So we're that
With the
generation.
Emacs.
Right.
with
Those
the different
Emacs.
colors. Yeah.
Didn't touch a Mac after that.
No.
And then
So we're like that first generation where you literally were educated on a computer in some fashion versus the above. They're like, oh, I had a Walkman.
even like our older brothers, like they're just a different era than us. They didn't have cell phones until they were graduating high school, which is like very different than
wild.
Do you remember do you remember the old projectors that
transparency?
Were like, the
yeah. I ran ours in church. Move it up slowly.
Older generations,
do you remember when they made the switch to like the digital one, where it was like actually like basically just like a video image of the teacher's hand underneath that?
Elmo's.
Yeah, Elmo. Do you remember that switch?
Yes, definitely. And I was like, dang.
Yeah, see, millennials would be like, what even is that?
Yeah, or smartboard. They're like, oh, that thing that nobody ever uses that's in our on the wall that they just
which
project
used to
things
be a
on.
chalkboard before that.
Now it's now it's just a space where we can't do anything because the teacher cannot figure that out.
No. Smartboards were used for half a year. And then they just left them there and projected things on them.
Right.
Okay, can we talk about when the teacher would wheel the video cart into the room?
Oh, dude, I'm instantly...
They go check out from the library.
Yep.
Instantly, I'm putting...
for me in college.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. In the music department, absolutely.
Nice.
They had one projector with all the movie equipment. It was pretty...
Oh, a projector? Not
What?
even a TV so we could learn the Dewey Decimal System?
Dude, the teacher wheels out the TV instantly. My hood goes up, my arms cross, I'm down on I'm out. I'm out every time.
Oh my gosh, that just reminded me of Mrs. Ortberg and doing the sex ed.
Yep.
And I'm trying not to say names because I'm literally in the town where everyone knows these
well.
names. Or would be giggling. This one guy especially would be giggling the whole time. And I'd be like, can you control yourself? Even though I wanted to laugh the whole time.
Man.
They're like, the penis. Just like laugh.
And then fast forward to middle school and you're in health class and it's time to talk about STDs and then show pictures of genitalia with said STDs.
Yep.
Also, me and you and Brendan have a unique experience with that because the health teacher's stepson was in our class.
Yes.
And I don't think anyone will ever understand how crazy that was.
It's true.
Can we agree on that? Because anyone else I tell about that, they're like, yeah, that's a health teacher. And I'm like, oh, no. No, really, it wasn't. It was a battle that didn't go on at home. It went on at school.
So bad.
Sir.
Unbelievable.
And she's the one that made us write our letters to ourselves that we got our senior
I would
year.
love to
I
read
wrote
that
all
thing
about
again.
her. I was like,
If I would bet $100 I wrote on that. I want to be a pro athlete.
Dude,
bet $100 on it.
I can,
what an idiot.
I can promise you I know what I wrote on that because I had just gotten in trouble because Braxton brought Chew to school.
Dwayne.
Bleep that.
Dwayne.
And brought Chew to school and I was indicted in this case
Grand
of
jury.
the Chew cans.
Grand jury indictment.
There were a few Chew cans and I won't say whether or not one of them was my Chew can.
I
in his
expect
backpack. But there were a few Chew cans in there. And so I never admitted to it, but she just went ahead under the presumption that I did do it.
Sure.
And I got a lecture about it. And so I pandered. I
Fast
said,
forward.
I will never chew ever again. I will never do alcohol. It was like more along that line rather than like I want to be a professional athlete by the time I'm out of high school.
Interesting.
So yeah, I pandered, and I remember senior year, I got the note, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't need to read this because I think about this note every day." Anytime I would. I mean, it kind of did its job. It didn't stop me from partaking, but
Damn good kid.
It at least forced me to think about it sometimes.
I remember writing a PS. Because
You would.
I remember.
You would throw a PS
I wrote a
in there.
PS, a PPS, and a PPPS. And
Yeah.
I remember
Cute
Miss
as fuck.
Lichty being like, I will not read these. I'm going to seal them. And I
Mhm.
remember being like, sure. Wait, did I say Miss Lichty? Or that's Miss Linky.
Miss
Anyway,
Link.
Miss Linky.
We'll go ahead and bleep that out.
Anyway, I remember
Miss
being like,
Lichty.
sure, you're not going to read it. So I wrote to her in this letter. I was like, P.S. I know you're reading this. Miss Lichty.
That is hilarious.
Oh, man.
And conveniently, all of those envelopes were taped when you got it your senior year.
Yeah, interesting how those were once supposed to be not looked at.
She read my private 8th grade thoughts.
I'm sure I wrote some real
Can you
controversial
imagine
things in there.
being a grown-ass adult person and just reading the inner thoughts?
But let me
of-
stop you
your
right
eighth-
there.
yeah.
The,
Eighth
the
graders.
person reading that was the stepmother of one of my best friends.
I hope that he
So
just wrote "fuck
that's what I'm
you"
saying.
in the
That's just a
letter.
weird.
It's so weird. It's
You're
small
having the
town
sex
stuff.
talk, and your
Just
your
like-
stepmom is the
Mhm.
weird,
So weird. Yeah.
I don't know how anyone let that fly, but they did.
That was all a
Welcome to
weird
the
time.
the stepbrother to the Rust Belt.
Mhm.
That's what happens here.
I just remember some volatile situations going on.
Oh yeah.
But even she was kind of volatile herself to begin with. Like one time she caught my best friend cheating on a test we were taking, just
He
like a
wasn't very
multiple
good
choice
at it.
test. And she grabbed his desk, made him stand up, grabbed his desk, and it just so happened to be by the door. And she flung it out the door, and it just went crashing into the hallway. And she said, "Finish your test out here."
Yeah,
Oh my
she's rather
gosh.
stocky, so I believe
Yeah.
that she could throw that
It was very,
thing.
very strong. I was very scared.
Back to London.
Do you
Back
guys
to
remember
London.
when
Go ahead.
Slater? Do you remember when said two kids that shall not be named picked up 2 desks and decided to joust against each other? And they collided desks when the sub was in the same classroom.
man.
I can
The
just
exact
imagine.
same desk.
Jeez.
It was out of
Jeez.
control,
The
dude.
sub days were
Oh,
the days.
yep.
Switching
Oh,
instruments in band.
boy.
Remember,
Oh,
remember
man.
Brendan?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I switched to triangle.
That's right, dude.
The one
Oh.
clown that would think it was the best idea to hide in the closet the entire time the sub was there. And then of
That was-
course
yeah,
they couldn't keep it together. You're not getting a group of 50 kids to keep that secret.
No, because you want to see them come out of the
Yes,
closet.
exactly.
Of course.
You want to see that show.
Oh man. Oh
And
no.
it would happen too.
My literal favorite thing, Brendan, please tell me you remember this. Whenever the band's substitute would turn around, we'd shoot them with imaginary bows and arrows.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, I
Immediately they
remember
turn around and
Whose class-
We're Legolasing them.
Whose class were you in
I
5th
think.
grade?
This
Who'd
is
you have?
flat.
Clat.
You
Yeah,
did?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We used
So
to
you
fool
remember
every
that
time she would
craziness?
turn around, dude. We would be goofing.
She would
off.
turn around, go to the board, and start to do what you would call a lecture to a 5th grader. Nice. Good luck.
Yes.
And you got random people would just get up, stand up on top of their desk, and put on a show while she's at the board, turn around, they're back down. And this is every day. You got kids throwing pencils at things. You got them running from teachers.
Oh, the pencils in the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
Always the goal to stick it into the false ceiling.
We were so wild.
Good times, good time. I remember asking her, raising my hand, crisscross applesauce in front of her, and being like, "Who did you vote for
You're a
in
savage.
the
She-
presidential
Put 'em up
election?"
against the rope.
And she was like, "I'm a registered Republican."
Duh.
And I was like, "Good."
She actually went to college and was in the same sorority house as Condoleezza Rice.
I remember that. Yeah. Yep.
Which is, shout out. Thanks for 9/11. Appreciate that, Condoleezza Rice. Back to,
Condoleezza did 9/11.
she said,
I
okay,
guess.
I don't want to get into this, but she sent a memo to George Bush in August of 2001 saying Osama bin Laden wanted to run planes into buildings in New York City. He neglected it. Dick Cheney neglected it. 9/11,
So Bush did
Patriot
it.
Act. Thank you.
Bush did 9/11.
And there you have it.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
back to London. So you run amok,
Okay.
you kill it, you
Right around.
crush
I
it.
went to some clubs. I went to some ancient cathedrals. I did it all.
Yeah, you did the tourist thing.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to ask the same thing from when you transferred from ORU to Rutgers. What did you take away from London other than, the whole motivation? This is what I'm going to do. I feel it in my bones. There's no turning back. Other than that, what did you take away from London What are you bringing home? And how long do you have left at Rutgers?
Okay, I'll be quick. Because London, number one, I learned how to do Shakespeare, in my opinion, because I really took to the training. I loved the training. I agreed with the training. I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And I came out of it being like, I can go anywhere and audition for Shakespeare and be confident doing it. That's hard for an actor to be like, I know how to do Shakespeare. It's kind of a scary thing. Like, it's a daunting thing. But I came out of that program being like, I'll audition anywhere. I will audition for the Globe and be like, I could do it here. I could do it. I know how to do it, which was a super great feeling. It made me, it feels great to be like, yes, I can do it anywhere. This niche, but also very universal, but also very employable genre of theater, I know how to do and love doing it. That was number one. And that was the goal going into it. That's what I wanted to know how to do. But I learned things along the way, such as I feel like I learned a lot about how to like what mindset and also like spirit to have coming into working on a project, working on a show, rehearsing, basically. I learned a lot about that. Because the way that we rehearsed there for things was very like workshopy and like playful and very had to do with just our own personalities and what we were bringing to the table and bringing to things in a
So
very
it wasn't
open
very
way.
structured?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. And I was like, dang, this is actually the way that everything should be rehearsed, not just Shakespeare. Everything. I should come into it just like in a very like playful and fun way. Whatever. I'm just going to bring whatever they want to it, but certainly a sense of joy to everything that I do. I'm not going to be that moody actor that like waltzes in and is like super on my high horse just because I'm sad all the time, which is very common for actors. They like really like value this like brooding sense of like I'm an actor, which I think is stupid. I think it's dumb. Like I can do that, but what I find rare in actors nowadays is their sense of joy and like their like funness. I learned a lot about that, how to come into the room being number one, super prepared, just academically. I know every word of every scene. I know it all so well that that's out of the way. Now I can just play and do whatever, whereas people were all hung up in different stages of, I don't know the text well enough. I learned a lot about that. I had a lot of great conversations with professors there who were also all of them working in the business at the top of the business in London for Shakespeare and other theater, which was great to pick their brains about things, including Mark Rylance, who was like at the tip top of things, down to people who just are working in London, but like consistently, and being like, hey, how do I approach things? You know, how do I carry myself in a rehearsal that will be productive and will be that will get me another job after this. And that was really valuable conversations that I had with people there about me professionally, kind of starting to think professionally. And I don't know. Then like culturally, I feel like I came back with like wow, I've been exposed to like so many different cultures. And
what was it like being an American living in London?
That was pretty cool. Just because it was funny because at the beginning, like some people in the company were like, please don't act American, like, and be like the stereotype of being like loud on the train and just like obnoxious and American, which is like the stereotype of American tourists. And so at the beginning, I kind of was like, yeah, please don't do that. But then I was like, you know what? I realized that I really like America. And I'm not going to fall into that popular thing right now, which is to hate America. I refuse. No, I'm going to be I'm going to realize that, of course, it's not a perfect place and we should strive to better ourselves as a country all the time. But compared to the world, I love being from America, and I feel super grateful that I happen to be born in America.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. I want to live in America. It's the best place to be an actor anyway, I think. So I am like, after just a couple weeks, I was like, you know what? I don't care if people think that I'm American and are mad that I'm the American stereotype and are annoyed or whatever. I want them to know that I'm from America because I'm proud to be from America.
That's a
So,
grounding thing.
It is,
that
because
we
then I'm not
lose.
thinking about it.
Just me personally, I've never been out of the country, so it's something you kind of lose, I think, as kind of a broad statement. But I think we lose the proudness of being an American, whether that sounds like a patriotic statement or not, but just the power behind that is
For
crucial,
sure.
I think. And I think we
Yeah.
lose that often.
Yeah, and you lose that perspective of just
Exactly.
actually how truly lucky you are.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And even however bad things are here,
Mhm.
which you should be fighting for things to be better, but it is kind of a sobering and balancing thing to also look at it in the perspective of the world and be like, but dang, I have it so much better. You know, whatever. I'm an oppressed group. I'm a minority group. I'm a whatever. And I think it is bad, and you should. That's great. But also, you have, for your own happiness, you have to also count your many blessings.
First
You
world
need to
problems.
know.
Yeah.
You need to know what you also have
Mhm.
in this country.
Wow.
So I found myself singing on the street sometimes. When I went to London, I realized I was like, dang, I'm in a huge city. Nobody knows me. A different country. I literally can do whatever I want. And, if I find myself like singing a little bit, I don't really care.
Doing a
And,
little busking.
No, and that's a good
and
thing.
people don't even really care. Like,
Yeah.
people are not as like, what is person? They're not like what you'd think. And one time, even a guy like pulled over in his van and was like, "That's really nice. You sound great," and like gave me like a thumbs up. And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And just like kept walking back home. But I realized there that like there's just like no time in the world to think about too much about what people think of you.
Definitely.
So
That's
you just
something
kinda gotta
we
go about
have
your
a
day.
hard time coping with here in such a small
sure.
area.
For
So that's
sure.
good.
You're
That's
hyper
good.
aware of what everyone's doing.
Definitely. You're walking down the street singing here, and people are looking at you like you're crazy.
It's true, yeah. Yeah, except they're probably like, "Oh, that's Slater."
Well, they know you. Yeah.
Like, he's
yeah.
saying-
Right.
But even I know, and I'm much more like free and easy down the road I go.
Oh, dude, shout
in
out.
in like New York.
I love you, dude.
But but here I even find it's still difficult. It's easier said than done because I still come here and I'm like, here I am, this free spirit who's an actor, and I'm wearing like weird pants, whatever. Like, I don't care what anyone thinks. It's easier said than done because even still, I come here and if I find myself it's in my blood to conform when I come here because it is the place that I conformed to for 18 years until I left. Like, it just is. And so I come here and I find myself being self-conscious about things that I never would be in another place.
I find it easier being here to try to navigate that by making it so that I avoid that conversation where someone makes a comment and then you have to address it. So you just kind of
You shouldn't
conform
have
a
to
little
have
bit.
that conversation.
Right. Because honestly, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But people
So
in Wheatland give
true.
a shit.
They really do.
The pants thing is a huge thing. My buddy, he was like, "Where'd you get your pants?" And I was like, showed him the website, and they weren't blue jeans. They were just like pants like this, like brown pants. And he wore them, and he got roasted so hard because he wasn't wearing blue jeans.
They were actually they were blue, but yeah.
Okay, but they were like a khaki type.
Yes, same type material, but they were blue. And I remember this day because I helped dress him. I helped dress him, and I wanted because he just got some new shoes.
It was a wedding. There was a wedding happening, and he had a date for the wedding. That's
so
what it was.
I helped dress him, and I was like, "Dude, you look sharp. Like I like it a lot."
And that's what he wanted. He wanted to look
Yeah,
good. He didn't want to wear baggy slacks or whatever or jeans. So yeah, he got all spiffed up and then just wore it all night,
which is
then,
terrible. Like he's trying to feel good about himself. With I don't know if he has any confidence issues, whatever, but everyone does to some extent.
True.
He went out of his way to try and look good, and I felt so bad. Genuinely, I don't know if I told you, but I did. I felt really bad because you were genuinely wanting to look good and went out of your way to do so, and then all of your boys roasted you.
Yeah,
and I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah,
it's part of the
You just have to
experience.
know that whatever you do, people are going to comment. You can be wearing what you think is the most inconspicuous thing, and you still should go about your day. I recommend. expecting
Definitely.
people to comment.
Yeah.
People are going to comment. They're going to say something about your hair. They're going to say something about what
They're
you're
going to say
wearing.
what's normally in like a Twitter comment or a Facebook comment, roasting someone. They're going to say that to your
Yeah,
face.
just straight up to your
exactly. So
face.
you
Yeah.
just have to do what you want to do, and whatever you like, you just gotta do and say and throw on and behave, because at the end of the day,
terrible.
you can't spend your whole life. You're going to spend your
Stop
whole
caring.
life being
Yeah.
worried. What, Brendan?
Stop caring.
Exactly. Yeah.
So by the way, fuck. How's that?
Yeah. Did you hear that?
So you get done in London, you crush it, you're coming back to America. How much
Yeah.
longer do you have at Rutgers?
One more semester. So we were supposed
Whoa,
to do the
dude,
show
congrats.
at Rutgers in New Jersey, The Winter's Tale by William Shakespeare. It got moved to a radio play. Shout out. You can refer to my Instagram. Shout out, because
Yeah,
I
plug it
will be
up.
posting some stuff about that radio play. It was supposed to be a live play. Ended up doing it on Zoom. And
Interesting.
yeah.
What'd you think about that? Because I
Uh,
can't stand this
dude,
whole
I
Zoom
hate
nonsense.
I hate it. My classes transferred onto Zoom very well, because they were just going to be a couple of classes about basically self-taping. Because
Oh,
all
well.
auditions nowadays are done in your living room with your iPhone.
How it should
It's just
be.
how 90% of them are done. Yeah, so we just were taking classes on that, and all of us just set up our own studios at home. And my parents happened to own a hardware store, so I was able to get all of the lighting equipment that I needed
Nice.
to
Yeah.
rig up my own little place to self-tape and send them, and then get critiqued by them on Zoom. Totally fine. But a play on Zoom doesn't transfer as well. Super hard to get
No.
into. You're acting with people. There's a delay. The audio's horrible.
I knew
These
I
are all
lost those.
smudged.
And I had to, like I was telling Brendan, I had to compose, and I had to compose some Russian folk music,
Really?
which I have no idea how to do.
Well, no.
And I borrowed an accordion from someone in town and did
Nice.
some composed to 4 songs that are the lyrics are written by Shakespeare. That's in that radio play. So if you want to go take a look or take a listen to the Winter's Tale by Mason Grove School of the Arts Company, you can listen to The Winter's Tale by William Shakespeare.
Very nice.
But anyway, yeah, I have one more semester. It is all what's called the professional development semester. Also called the 0.5 semester, because it's our 3.5 year. It's our half year. And we do just a whole bunch of preparing for our brand. Like what are we going to be when we exit? And it culminates in our showcase, which is done in Manhattan for a bunch of, we just do like monologues and do different performy things to show off our skills and who we are to a bunch of casting directors and agents.
Is that a self-driven thing? Like you have to organize all this, or is
No,
there a
it
group
is-
that
It is directed.
helps everybody?
It's the professors. It is, and outside people too, that direct it and help us
Oh, nice. That's good.
curate our material throughout this whole next semester for the showcase, which happens in like very early January in Manhattan, and that's where you get your representation from agents and stuff like that.
Nice.
So you can prepare to move into the city if that's what you decide to do, which is probably what I'm going to do around Christmas.
Yeah, so you, as an actor, you got 2 choices, at least from a simpleton mind like I have. New York City, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You got screen and you got stage.
Yeah. That
What are we going to see?
is, well, I don't know, because I like stage so much more. I love having the actual people in front of you. I really like that. Also, film is very technical in the way that it is often stuff shot out of order. You do retake. You know, it's a lot harder for me to get into, you know, when I'm used to, you know, I start the show and then I live through this character, the through line of this character one time that night. I don't get other takes. You literally just enter the world
Right.
at the beginning of the show and you leave the world 2.5 hours when the show's done. I like that. And then when you get into film, there's a camera right in your face, all these lights, 100 people that are not characters in the show that are around you.
Sure.
And here I am in this scene and have to be there in the scene and then start over, do that exact same thing again with the same heightened emotional stakes of whatever. It's harder for me to get into, but I'm going to do it for sure. I'm going to
Awesome.
do it because it's where the money's at. And it also is still technically the art of acting for sure. So I got to get into it. But my school just kind of splits. People do both. So I'm excited to do both. But as far as LA and New York goes, that is traditionally the case, is those two. But things are expanding a lot. We're kind of entering a culture, especially with online streaming and Netflix
Definitely.
having its own, its own productions, and same with Amazon Prime, same with Hulu, same with YouTube. Things have their own shows. And that's really cool because we're kind of entering a culture where people want to see new faces now.
Definitely.
We're
I would
exiting a
agree.
culture where people want to see Brad Pitt in everything that they see.
Yeah.
Where they're pulling from 25 of the same actors that are huge celebrities. We were exiting that culture and we're entering somewhere where the pool is widening, which means things are getting cast out of Atlanta, things are getting cast out of Austin, things are getting cast out of Canada and other countries, So it's not all about that. It's becoming much more universal. And so me being in New York, I still can get cast for things that are at LA projects.
Definitely.
And film projects in New York, film in Austin, film in Atlanta. Things are widening out just a lot more, which is super good for me right now. I'm not a face. I don't have to really try and become a face that is recognizable before I can get any jobs. I don't have to do that because I can just by being a new face that can help me. It's kind of what it's becoming now.
Yeah. Good time to be getting into it though.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think so. Not during this virus.
Yeah.
But
No, that's an interesting thing that we've obviously discussed. This whole, I don't know, I'm a big fan of comedy, stand-up comedy, if you didn't know. It's hard for me to kind of think into the future and see people packing into these venues to go see a live show. Not because the virus is serious, but because people are insane and they think that this is a catastrophic situation.
yeah.
When it's definitely not. Sorry. So it's, how do you plan on navigating that? Obviously, you have no control in that,
Yeah,
but
nobody really knows.
Yeah, play it by ear.
Actors, especially right now, just don't know what the hell is going to happen with their career currently because almost no one has jobs. Broadway is completely shut down through September, they think. I think that's what the last thing I read was, which is crazy. So all of those actors don't have jobs.
Yeah, LA just extended
Nowhere.
their stay-at-home order for another 3
Till through
months.
July, yeah.
They said 3 months.
Oof.
Yeah.
It sucks.
LA Times reported that, I think,
It really
yesterday.
sucks. I don't know what people are going to do, but yeah, as far as what we know, we don't know anything. All of those seniors whose showcases were supposed to be happening this month and very, right now, it just really hurt them because being in person and all those people seeing you to try and represent you and stuff is super valuable. You cannot get as much from being on film.
No.
From an online submission, you just can't get as much. In person is always better. And so it's really hard for them. I feel really bad for them. It really makes me hope, God, I hope that mine is still going to be okay this winter, which I think it will be. I think we're going to be the first out of the first company showcase to be
Which
seen.
could play really into your hand, too.
I think it's going to be
because
really
you go
good
so
for
long
us,
without
yeah.
enough stimulus
Yep.
that when you do get it,
everyone's going to be wanting new actors, and here's their
so that
first
could be a definite positive
batch.
for you.
I truly agree. If it's not messed with, I super agree because most schools' showcases are in the spring. It's rare that ours is technically before what's known as pilot season. Ours is before pilot season when all the pilots are being cast to try and get picked up by networks.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And ours is before that, one of the few, very few. And also, they didn't have their spring showcases. They're huge,
Right, as
chunk
of a
spring
couple months
showcases.
ago, or currently, I
Yep.
guess.
So they haven't had one since last spring. So they'll have waited a year and a half basically till they have had an in-person showcase. And that seems like it's going to be good for me, especially with
I
my
think it
company
will.
being only 15 actors. That's small.
What do you
and
think the success rate is?
For my school?
Yeah,
It's high. It's especially high right now.
look at you.
People just pop right out. Almost all of them got representation the past few years. And also, I don't know, they're just popping in, doing great work in the city in New York. Some have immediately jumped onto film, like HBO and Netflix. And
Netflix. Look up our guy
Netflix
Slater
is
Ashenhurst.
big for my school, so
That's cool.
hopefully we'll be able to pop
That's
it.
awesome.
Ozark
That
season
show.
4 or
Heck
no,
yeah.
I just
season
dove
5.
back in.
13 Reasons
Season 4
Why,
or 5.
season 20. I'm
Yep.
on it. But yeah, HBO, they pop different things. I'm always seeing little clips of my friends in Marvelous
That's
Mrs.
cool.
Maisel
Really?
and in different HBO shows and
I just
you know.
started watching that. I'm in season 2.
Marvelous
believe.
Mrs. Maisel?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Is it good? I haven't
Yeah, it's
watched
good.
it yet. I've heard
You'd
it's
like
really
it.
good.
You'd like it.
I've heard that I would.
The lead, she's really good. It's a cool dynamic. I like things based in history, and it's like
Yeah.
late 1950s, early 1960s, New York City. So that fascinates me.
Yeah, that's a
lot.
cool time
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I love those period shows too.
Oh, hey, I have a question.
'Kay.
Dad, if you had to choose your favorite birthday party you've ever been to, what do you think?
Hell of a question.
if you had to pin it down, what do you think?
Well, if we had to pin it down, he's throwing me a softball, as he would say.
Mm-hmm.
There is a birthday party in which we were all 5th graders that Slater's mom graciously set up. Shout out to Carrie.
Also, crushed it.
Yeah,
Put
it was
a
fun.
bunch of work into it.
Yeah.
We had games
Just
set
was
up.
trying to get
We
me
had
half
a
friends.
tournament where we were playing like badminton.
Yes. Yeah, there was literally a tournament. Bracket.
What else did we do?
There was like
outdoor-
horseshoes.
Oh, that's
Horseshoes,
right.
basketball.
That's right. Shout out Jet Ike, dude. We crushed it.
You were Jet's partner.
I think so.
Cool. That sounds
We'll
right.
put up the picture.
We'll have
as
to look
well.
at the picture. Yeah, link
Yeah.
to the picture
I think I
below.
was.
Oh, link that picture because all I remember is
I'll
that
find it. I'm sure it's on my
jersey
mom's
was
Shutterfly.
sitting like off of my shoulder. I wasn't actually
yeah.
wearing the jersey across my body.
You were
because
making
I
a
was
fashion
victim.
statement.
I remember that too. Rebel.
No,
Yeah.
it
You
was
and
because I
Andre?
was very self-conscious of my weight. Always have been my entire life. And I did not want to put that tight-ass thing over my body. We
A
threw her
little
over the
penny. Oh no,
shoulder.
it was a jersey. It was like a monogrammed jersey.
Yep.
Everyone got water
Yep.
bottles with their names on them.
Tight.
Color
That's right.
coordinated.
Mhm.
Those were
There
like,
were grab bags.
I will say, those were the OG before the Yeti. Those
Oh yeah,
water
those,
bottles that we
I still
got.
have mine. Mine's in my closet right now.
I bet
it
I
still
do
has my
too.
name stickered on it.
Nice.
Swiss gear. It was Swiss gear.
That's right. Yeah, it was
Oh.
like 10 years before Yeti, first of all.
Those things were sick. That was a
They
good
were.
birthday. My mom really was. She was like, Slater needs some friends.
Crushed.
Name
Gotta
one
have a
birthday
really
party
good
you've been
party.
to where you go home with a gift as a guest.
Oh, always.
That's the
Always
only
with
one.
mine.
See, yeah, that's the only one in my life.
It was called Slater's Birthday Bash.
It was a banger.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I
See-
literally just remembered when Blaine's present for me at that birthday party. Do you remember what you gave me?
Oh, no, I don't. but
Okay,
I'm
because I'll
excited to
never
hear it.
forget.
Really?
Because you gave me my first Maximum Ride young adult novel. Shout out. They're at the library. Yeah, it's called Maximum Ride.
By
And
who?
it is James Patterson. What?
I do remember that. I do remember
There it
that.
is.
His children's series. Oh my god!
I do
because
remember
they
that.
literally became my favorite series. I'm obsessed with them. They're about kids who were taken by science, and wings were put onto them, and they can fly, and they're also strong
I'm
and
such
stuff.
a good gift giver.
Oh man, Blaine! I ate up that book. I ate up the rest of the series. Then I found the adult version by James Patterson at the library. And
remember
do you remember
those.
me being on the bus and reading it out loud to
Oh, yeah.
people because it
Oh,
had
yeah.
like some pretty.
It was risque.
Pretty
explicit stuff.
steamy
for
scenes, and I'd be
13-year-olds
reading
or
them. People would be
however
like,
old.
"Oh, can we read another one of those? Do another reading
Just do another chapter. Slater.
of like some biologically altered children."
Yeah, that was weird.
Getting
Look at me just
frisky.
Getting
raising up
freaky.
your life a little bit, huh?
I will never forget. And I was like, "Dang, Blaine gave me one of my favorite birthday presents I've ever gotten." in my
That's
whole
crazy,
life."
man. Thank you for saying
Good
that
for
because I
you, Pete.
crush it with the gifts.
You did a great job. Who knows? You're probably just like, "This looks good."
I cannot believe. Wow. I
don't
knew
know
it
where you
too.
got
As soon
it.
as I asked who it was by, I knew it.
James
Interesting.
Patterson.
That's awesome. That
Love
makes me
those
feel
books.
good.
I have them. I still have the one you gave me.
Oh man.
Probably has Slater Ashenhurst in
Mhm.
cursive written
Property
on the inside.
Also-
cover.
Very good name for an actor, I must say.
Slater Ashenhurst.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I think it is.
Thanks.
Yeah, you don't even have to change your name, man.
I've thought about it too. I've been like, would Slater Graham be better? Because my middle name's Graham. It's like, would Slater Graham
That's
be better?
pretty cool too.
That's a crazy relation me and you have as well. When my mother was in the hospital getting ready to birth me, okay, I come out and my dad insists Graham Guile, okay? insists. My sister would not let it go, would not let it fly.
What?
Graham Cracker Guile is all she could think of forever.
So true.
He's going to get hazed his entire life. And
That's
then
so true.
Then she brought Blaine, and that's how
She was
I am who
honestly
I am.
smart because she was right. You absolutely
Graham
would be.
Cracker.
Think about what
Guile.
you'd call someone whose name was Graham.
Yeah. But as an adult, solid name.
It doesn't make much difference.
True.
Yeah.
My name was going to be Amos.
Famous.
And at first I was like, Amos is such a cool name. Then I was like, wait a minute. That's 1 second from anus.
True.
Oh, yeah.
True.
And
That's a good
I'm
point.
pretty sure I
Good night,
would
God
call
bless.
someone whose name was Amos Anus.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure I'd get called Anus the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But it's a cool name.
Yeah.
If only. If only.
Well, I think that'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, man. I just want to say congratulations. Congratulations because, number one, you've worked your ass off. Number two, you got the talent. Number three, you've put yourself in a position where it's pretty well impossible for you to not succeed.
Thanks.
In
So
no
I cannot
particular
wait.
order. I agree.
Thanks,
I
guys.
cannot wait to see what happens. I think it's going to be big. I'm glad we got you before the takeoff, you know.
It's
So
going to be
people
big
can
for this
refer back.
podcast. It is.
It is.
When you're on Netflix, also Netflix, if you're watching Slater
If
Ashenhurst.
you're watching,
Please shout out Netflix. Shout out Instagram. Shout out.
yeah, plug anything you want
Um,
to plug as well.
yeah, follow me
please.
on Instagram at SlateAsh. Slate.ash.
Slate
Pending,
Ash.
I might change it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But for now, you can find me at Slate.ash.
Worth the follow, I must say. Those
It's worth
stories
the.
are phenomenal.
Bad stories.
They are.
The story with your dog the other day.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, boy.
I
Can't
get
believe that
rewarded.
thing's still trucking.
Boy.
Yeah, Marley. Oh man, follow right now while Marley's still alive. Also, shout out tomorrow. We're getting a new dachshund puppy.
Oh,
Her name's
man.
Hope.
That's
Can't
a
wait
big
to see
deal.
it.
Yeah, I'm
It's a big
so
deal.
she'll be all over my Instagram. So if you'd like to see a brand new dachshund puppy named
Who
Hope,
wouldn't?
check out Slate.ash. Yeah, I'm gonna post all kinds of links to plays you can watch that I'm working on, and all kinds of cool stuff goes on there. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
come on.
And you can catch him on a marquee in New York City sometime soon.
Sometime soon. Netflix 13 Reasons Why season 14.
Season 14.
Congrats,
All right.
brother.
Thanks,
Thanks, Slater.
guys. It's been fun to kick
It's been
back.
fun. It's a good kickback.
Strong.